Hey there, everybody. This is Coop from Demonic Legion, and now Druki.net as well. Uh, I'm playing with my Dark Elves today, a 2,500 point game against vampire counts. So my list, I'm mostly just playing with the units that I have, because my Dark Elves are a little scarce at the moment. I've got a Supreme Sorceress for my General. She's a level 4 of Shadow. She's got a Dispel Scroll, a Dark Steed, and also the Ring of Hotek. If you're not familiar with it, it's a 50-point magic item that gives her magic resistance 3. And also, if an opponent casts a spell within 6 inches of her, or on a unit within 6 inches of her, or on her unit, they will miscast on a roll of double ones as well as double sixes. It's only 5 points more than the Talisman of Preservation, so I thought it's kind of a cool item to have. I've got two masters for my heroes. One is a BSB on a cold one. He's got a 1-up armor save, a Dawnstone, so he's rerolling it. And he's got a Potion of Strength, so +3 strength on the turn after the charge. Um, I've got a master with a Pegasus mount. He's got a 1-up armor save, a lance, and he's got the Cloak of Twilight, which is a 50-point magic item for Dark Elves. It's really great. It gives him a 3-up against shooting and magical attacks, and additionally on the charge, he gets Killing Blow and D3 wounds. So the saves are fantastic, and it works really well on the Pegasus. For core, I've got 2 units of 14 Witch Elves, both with just musicians. I've got a unit of 14 Dark Shards with Banner of the Eternal Flame, and I've got 5 Dark Riders with musicians, shields, and crossbows. For special, I've got 2 units of 5 Shades. They've got additional hand weapons and also musicians, so they get +1 to rally. I've got 9 Cold One Knights with full command and the Banner of Swiftness. And 16 Executioners. And then to round out the list, I've got a unit of 10 Warlocks and a unit of 9 Warlocks. So for my spells, I rolled 2 2s, a 5, and a 6. So I got Pit of Shades and Occam's Razor. The 2 is Enfeebling Foe, which reduces strength by D3. I switched that out for Mystifying Miasma, and I picked the Withering because of the double. So Mystifying Miasma is great because most of my stuff's weapon skill 5, and if I reduce his weapon skill by 1 or 2, he's going to be hitting on 5s for most things. Withering's great because he has some tough units, and minus toughness is always great for witches to get wounds through. Pit of Shades is awesome. It's just anything where you get dragged to your doom. How could you not like it? Initiative tests are always good on things like Crypt Horrors. And then lastly, Occam's Mind Razor. I didn't really need it this game, but it's nice just because you put it on the witches, and now they are tearing faces off. So deployment, we rolled a 1, so we're doing battle line. As you can see on the far flank, he's got 5 dogs, a Terrorgeist number 1 in the back here, Corpse Card number 1, 10 Crypt Horrors, which those are probably my biggest fear at the moment. They have 3 attacks each, a strength 4 with poison. They get stomps, they're toughness 5 with a 5-up regen, so they're pretty nasty. He's got zombies in the back with a level 4 Necromancer, Lore of Vampires. This is after the Vanguard move, so he Vanguarded his Hex Wraiths up. He couldn't Vanguard the dogs because of where I positioned my Shades for scouting. He's got a unit of 40 Crypt Ghouls, which is also a concern of mine. It's got his general in it, Ghoul King, which has, I think it must be the Giant Blade or something. He's got a strength 7 attacks, and also has whatever the vampire magic, upgrades are that give him extra attacks for each wound he deals. So he's got 5 attacks base, and then now he's doing extra attacks for each wound. He deals some real damage. He's got another unit of 5 dogs. It's the second corpse card. A unit of zombies to fill out core. Another Terrorgeist, and some Spirit Hosts. So for me, on the very far flank, you can't actually see it in this picture, I've got a Pegasus, my Pegasus rider. I've got my BSB and Coal ones in the flank. I've got the 5 shades that I had scouted so that they can take some shots at the dogs. I've got 14 witches, my sorceress, and the warlocks. Unfortunately, I haven't finished painting the warlocks or the dark shards, so the warlocks are in this unit of 10. My executioners are the center. These are dark riders because there's only 5 of them. I've got my other shades. The dark shards are an inch away from the building. They couldn't get in it because of the deployment zone, but they will run into it in the first turn. I've got another unit of witches and then 10 more warlocks in the flank. So I ended up rolling first turn. I casually move some stuff up. I keep the shades where they are, so I don't get a penalty for moving. I've got my dark shards in the building, and so they can take shots. And I keep everything back mostly. He's got this just big line of stuff in the center, and I'd rather have some turns to get off magic than going up to face him. I move my cold ones up just a little bit in case he comes too far forward so I can get a flank charge. And my Pegasus comes up behind this impassable terrain so that his Terrorgeist in the back can't charge me, and so that'll have some nice charges the next turn. I roll Winds of Magic. I got a 3 and a 1, so I got 4 dice, and he got 3. I try to Doombolt one of his Terrorgeists with my Warlocks on the far edge, but I'm not able to do it just because he has the same number of dice as me, and he's got more to his Dispel. So he ended up channeling one. So it doesn't go off. For shooting, I end up taking off 3 of these dogs on the left, and then 2 of the dogs on the right, and that's pretty much it. Vampires. So you can already see, mistakes have been made. He charged my Warlocks with his Spirit Host. Now, I'm a Demons player, so all my attacks are magical normally. I totally forgot about this, and I should have thought about it, because isn't it strange that he's charging this one unit into all these Warlocks? But I held, so I'm not going to get any attacks because he's ethereal, and my attacks aren't magical. So that was a huge misstep on my part. They're stuck there now. He moves up his Terrorgeist to scream into the Warlocks. During the shooting phase, he ends up killing 3 Warlocks. He rolled pretty well, and I didn't roll great for my wards. He moves up the dogs to chaff, which I'm not really concerned about. And then he takes his dog into my shades. I ended up doing a wound or 2, and there's only 1 dog left. Then he moves up his Terrorgeist to scream into my Pegasus. I'm really not concerned about that at all, just because I've got a 3-up save and leadership 9. So I guess I should be a little bit concerned, but not really. I don't really care too much. And he ends up moving everything in the center up. And then for magic, he rolls a 6 and a 1. So I get 6 dice. He gets 7. We both channel, so 8 to 7. First spell he does is Van Hels, which ends up moving all of the units within 12 of the Necromancer forward, so they get to make their normal move. So basically everything moves forwards. I didn't try to dispel it just because I've got enough chaff that I can chaff stuff up if I need to. Also, he's not really that close, so I'll be able to have some time before he's able to charge me. So he gets it off, moves everything forwards. I didn't know this, but the corpse cards gives them always strikes first when they're casted near or some stuff like that. So all these units in the middle have always strikes first, and they reroll hit into wounds or something because of Van Hels. So there's absolutely no way I'm going to charge them next turn, which is fine. I wasn't planning on it anyways. As he tries to cast Raise Dead, which I dispel, and then he tries to cast Gaze Him to Gash on my Warlocks, which I also dispel because I had quite a few dice. Shooting phase, his Terrorgeist went into the Warlocks, and then also his other Terrorgeist ended up doing 3 wounds to the Pegasus, but the Pegasus saved all of them with the Cloak of Twilight. So my poor Warlocks, they ended up dying, so he dealt a couple wounds with his Spirit Host. He won combat. I rolled an 11 for the leadership. And then, I rolled high for the leadership and low for Swift Stride. I rolled a 3, 2, and 1 for Swift Stride, so I go 5 inches, and he rolled like a 6 or 7. So I lost 10 Warlocks right off the bat. That was a huge mistake on my part, but you know, it happens. Dark Elves, turn 2. So, as you can see, more bad things happen with that frickin' Spirit Host. My Witches fail their leadership for Frenzy, and they go directly into the Spirit Host. I'm a little bit more optimistic about this one just because I have the additional rank and I've got the charge, so he's down by 2 on combat res, and I can crumble him a little bit. The Shades end up reforming a little bit so that they can shoot at the Terrorgeist, and also if the X-Wraiths charge, they got a strange rear charge going on and can't overrun into anything super useful. On the left flank, I basically just scooch everything back because I'm concerned about his center line. I take the Pegasus into the Terrorgeist. Now, I'm pretty optimistic about this because I get D3 wounds on the charge from the Cloak of Twilight in the turn I'm charging. And I'm Strength 6. I've got way higher initiative than him and weapon skill, so I'm re-rolling. And I get +1 to combat res for the charge. And if I sneak through 1 or 2 wounds, and he doesn't save them, they get multiplied by D3. I might win combat by 3 or 4. And he's not going to deal much to me because he can't Thunderstop. And on top of that, I'm pretty high initiative, so he's not going to do much. During Magic, I rolled the exact same thing, a 3 and a 1. Neither of us channeled. I threw 4 dice at Pit of Shades, right at his unit of Crypt Horrors. And I positioned it so that I'd get 8 of them. I rolled a 20, so I rolled really well on the dice. I don't know if he had a Dispel Scroll, but if he did, he absolutely should have used it here, but did not. He tried to Dispel it, but on 3 dice, I beat him. I ended up rolling a direct hit on Pit of Shades, and I got 8 of them. He failed 6 saves, so 6 Crypt Horrors were gone, and that's excellent. That's like 200 plus points of them gone, and also that unit's much more manageable. Combat with the Terrorgeist did not go particularly well. I'll show that in a little bit. The Witches end up doing 2 wounds to the Spirit Host through combat res. And poor Mr. Pegasus failed his fear test. So or his terror test. He had 2 hits with the rerolls, and then 3 hits with the rerolls. No, 2 hits with the rerolls, and then he only wounded once. I rolled a 2 and a 5. So if I rolled a 1, I could have rerolled it because of Murderous Prowess. But I only got 1 wound, and he saved it on a 6-up regen. So nothing. He didn't do any wounds to me just because I've got the 1-up armor save, and Terrorgeist doesn't have a great weapon skill to begin with. But I end up winning combat by 1, so he takes a wound. That was really a shame. I wish I could have done more with that. I did a little bit of shooting with the Shades into the Corpse card, and I think I did 2 wounds on it, so that was, a fun bonus. I also did 2 wounds to his Terrorgeist on the other side with my Dark Shards because he can't regen save that, so that was a good bonus. It'll reduce his screaming ability. Turn 2 Vampires. So he charges his Corpse card into my Shades, and I flee. I beat him by 1, which is really great. And that Corpse card's just a little bit out of position, so I was very happy about that. He makes some interesting decisions. So he charges his X-Wraiths into my, Shades, no problem. I can't flee. I could flee, but there's no way I'd get away with his movement 8 plus Swift Stride, and I'm rolling 2 dice, and I was maybe 3 inches or 4 inches away, so I just hold and hope that I can, suck it up. He moves his Terrorgeist over to scream into the Witches. He ends up doing like 3 or 4 wounds during the shooting phase, so that's fine. He moves most of his guys up a little bit. He puts this dog here in front of the Executioners, which I'm not sure why he does it. I think he thought I was going to charge his ghouls with my Executioners or something, but there's absolutely no way I'm going to charge into a horde of ghouls with the Ghoul King in it. I mean, especially since I don't have Always Strikes First, he is just going to tear through so many of my guys before he even get to attack with that Ghoul King. So I was fine with him putting the dog there. It actually meant that he was probably not going to be able to charge me, or it was going to be difficult to charge me, so I was happy to let that happen. Um, uh, and then this is just showing the Hex Wraiths. I'll go back and see what happened. So during shooting phase, he takes off a couple witches. My poor Pegasus dies. He rolled a 6 and a 5, so 11, and then another 5 for the wounds the Terrorgeist has. So he's 16 to my leadership 9. He ends up doing, 7 wounds to me. So Cloak of Twilight, even with a 3-up save, I just pop. So he's gone. That was a shame. And the Shades actually do kind of well. They don't actually do well, but only 2 of them die. So they flee, and he decided to restrain, so he wasn't chasing them. So my Shades just kind of flee off to the side a little bit. Turn 3, Dark Elves. I rally these Shades and just move them over a little bit to make it so that his Terrorgeist is not going to be able to fit in between these cold ones if possible. So I ended up charging both my witches and my cold ones into the Crypt Horrors. He ended up growing 1 back in his last magic phase with Raised Dead, but that's pretty much all he did. And I'm pretty happy about this combat. I'm going first, and even with his toughness 5 and all those regens or whatever, I'm pretty confident. I moved the the Warlocks back a little bit to be out of line of sight of these Crypt Ghouls, and that's pretty much it. I think I take shots at the Corpse Cart, but nothing really happens. And I just move my Dark Riders out of the way so that they will not be attacked. I ended up rallying my other Shades, so they're good to go as well. Ignore these these Warlocks, they're dead. During the magic phase, I roll a 7. I try to get Withering off on his Crypt Horrors, but I failed to cast. I rolled a 6, like a 1 and a 1, so I missed it by 1. And then I just try to Doom Bolt his Hex Wraiths, but he ends up dispelling it because he had a couple dice left. So not much from that. Shooting, I think I go again on his Terrorgeist, and I might have done a wound, but no, I don't even do a wound, so nothing really happens there. And over here, not much is. I don't think there's anything to show over here. So I did 1 more wound to the I ended up performing last turn for a rank, and I did 1 more wound to this Spirit Host because of combat res. Then the other side, this is pretty exciting. So the Witches ended up doing 18 wounds. So yeah, they got 28 attacks with rerolls. I was just getting a shit ton of poisons, and then I rolled a ton of 6s again. So I ended up doing 18 wounds, which is insane. That means only 8 failed. And then, oh no, they didn't do 18 wounds. They ended up doing like 12 or something. And then the cold ones did like the other 6 or 7 wounds. And he ended up regen saving pretty well. Decently well. He ended up having 2 left. They did a couple wounds to the Witches. You can see 3 dead there, but they popped because of combat res. The Witches overran pretty far into this unit of zombies, which is excellent because his level 4 is there, so I'm going to kill him pretty soon. And this was a great overrun for the cold ones because his Terrorgeist is not going to be able to charge. Now, I guess he could charge this Chariot into the Shades and then with the Terrorgeist, which I actually think ends up happening, but I was happy about it for the moment. Turn 3 Vampires. So, yeah, he tries to, he decides not to charge the Terrorgeist into the Witches because he doesn't want to deal with all those poison attacks. He does the Hex Wraiths moving through the building or something, and he ends up killing a bunch of dark shards, and they flee out of the building. Yeah, he's got when he flies over, he deals a bunch of attacks, so that's what happened. Then he charges his corpse card into my shades. I hold. I think this is after combat because they're reformed. So I ended up doing 1 wound with my shade, and he ended up doing, I think, 1 wound himself. So he won combat, but I passed my leadership and my reform, so he reformed. And to face him, he tried to charge with his Terrorgeist into my my Warlocks. I was happy to hold just because I've got so many poison attacks, and I don't really care too much about a shooting thing because I've got all those 4-up ward saves, so I was fine to let him do it. He needed a 7 on 3 dice, and he ends up rolling a 3-3 and a 2, so he didn't get it, which was excellent for me. He just kind of stumbles forwards, and he can't scream this turn. And then this combat over here. So I try to kill his caster, but I flub my attacks, and I only deal 1 wound to him, but I deal enough wounds to the unit that I win combat, and just scooch over a little bit. So this is the end of combat, and it's about to be my turn, so he's going to get a nice flank charge. And then my poor witches, they fail their leadership test. They roll an 11 to flee, which is excellent, but his spirit host also rolled an 11, so he got my witches. So this spirit host has got 14 witch elves and 10 warlocks, so it's doing pretty well for itself. Turn 4 dark elves. This is before combat, so this was the last phase. What ends up happening is I charge the warlocks into the wolves. I charge the what the hell are these called? The cold ones into the zombies, and that's that. I roll for Winds of Magic, and I don't think I get really anything off. I tried to do -1 strike, -1 toughness to this big unit, but he dispelled it from Soul Blight, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really think I got anything off. So that's before combat. After combat, the Warlocks kill the Hounds, no problem. They turn around to face the Terrorgeist, and then the Witches obliterate the unit. The Cold Ones also obliterate the unit. And they end up overrunning, and they overrun into his big horde over here and his corpse cart because they're both equal distance. Now, what you can't see is that I have my executioners, which are far away enough they need a 7 to get in to this big horde. So my thinking is I'm getting, what is it, 12 guys can attack, I got 6 guys can attack on the flank of this unit, and also I stop it from charging into my witches and cold ones and all that stuff. So I thought, what the hell, I'm going to go for it with the executioners. I ended up rolling like an 8 or something, so they go into the flank of this unit. And my cold ones also get in there. So I got all these always strikes first attacks. I kill the corpse card outright, that's no problem. I do a couple wounds to this unit over here. But his Ghoul King, Jesus, it's got 5 attacks. He's got hatred, so he's rerolling them. And also, when he deals wounds, he gets more attacks. So he ends up killing, he does 8 wounds. He kills 8 cold ones, and I flubbed my like 6-up armor saves that it became. So he kills 8 cold ones. At this point, I'm fine with it because I had so many attacks from the executioners that I end up taking, I win combat. I had 18 for combat res, and he had like 10 or so. So he ends up losing a full rank of ghouls again. So I'm very happy about that. And the next turn, I'm going to charge directly into him. So that's great. And he's so low on leadership that he can't reform. So almost none of these ghouls are in combat, which is perfect for me. Turn 4 vampires. He moves the Terrorgeist up. He decides not to charge. Not exactly sure why. I think he wanted to scream into the witches. He dealt a couple wounds to the witches. The other Terrorgeist moved up as well and screamed and did like 3 wounds to the executioners, a couple wounds to them. he doesn't really have a magic phase anymore. So his Ghoul King ended up getting a miscast way earlier in the game and lost his one wizard level, and his other wizard is dead. So we skipped straight to combat. His Hex Wraiths did another movement thing, and they killed all my Dark Shards, so they were gone. Um, combat over here, he ends up killing my Cold One unit completely, but it only gained him 3 wounds, which is really nice. And I was able to do a couple to him, and then the Executioners were able to do a couple more, so he lost combat once again, and he's stuck there in that position. He tried to reform, but he failed. So now my witches are going to be able to swing in and just demolish him, which is exactly what I want. This is just a shot. These dark shards are dead, and he's just kind of reforming stuff. This was very exciting. I ended up killing the corpse cart, so that's gone. Turn 5, Dark Elves. This is what really spelled his demise. The witches came into the ghouls, and the executioners were still there as well. The witches ended up rolling a ton of wounds. They ended up totally clearing the unit, and then he has Ghoul King left, which did just a shit ton of wounds to the witches, and there was one witch left. His Ghoul King, though, unfortunately lost combat by 3, and he was the only one left, so he crumbled, so his Ghoul King was dead. Additionally, I had charged my Warlocks into the Terrorgeist. I thought this was going to be no problem with all those poison attacks, and on my magic phase, I ended up getting the Withering on him, so he was strength or toughness 4 to boot, so I just wiped him out, and on wounds, I rolled a lot of 6s. So with his general dead, his other Terrorgeist dead, he was left with zombies, Hex Wraiths, Spirit Host, and Terrorgeist. At this point, he conceded the match just because his Terrorgeist, the other one had like 4 wounds on it already, so it was going to die to crumble. His Hex Wraiths were going to get hurt to crumble every turn. His Spirit Host was going to die to crumble, and zombies, you're not going to win with zombies. So, closing thoughts. This was a major victory for the Dark Elves. At the end of the day, I lost my Master on the Pegasus. I lost 1 unit of 14 Dark Shards, 1 unit of 14 Witches, the Cold One unit, and also the Warlocks. But I still had my General. I had 10 Warlocks left. I still had all the points for that 1 Witch Elf that stayed alive. I had my Executioners. I had both units of Shades, and I had my my Warlocks. So 1 unit of Warlocks. So it was a good win. I was pretty happy about it. Some things to some quick comments. Definitely remember ethereal units. That really screwed over my poor Warlocks. I thought it was a good game. I think I played pretty smart most of the time, except for that failure to charge on the Warlocks that I should have got. The Witches, did fantastic. A lot of people love to bring the Cauldron with the BSB and a big horde of Witches, but I really like 2 units of 14. They get no saves, and they don't get to reroll all their hits, but the nice thing is they're more maneuverable, and with 2 units, it's harder to keep track of both of them for your opponent. And also, when you just have 1 big unit like that, I'm going to throw like Dwellers Below at it every single turn if I can, or Final Transmutation. I'm just going to, chaff it up and try to deal with as much shooting as possible. So 2 units is nice because you can ensure that they're going to get into a combat. And they still get a unit of 7 wide if you can get all of them in there. That's 21, or no, actually 28 attacks. So that's a lot of attacks. If you're rolling with the Horde, you get more attacks than that, but it's not like you're getting 50 more, attacks. You'll get a couple more. So I like 14 of them. Cold ones are not great. They're fun. I spent a lot of time painting them, so I felt obligated to bring them. But they just got murdered by that Ghoul King. I forgot about how nasty it was. I couldn't challenge it out either because he accepted the challenge with his other champions, so he just murdered cold ones. The warlocks are great always, and Lore of Shadow was pretty nice in this game. I think I only ended up getting 2 spells off: the Wither, which ended up helping kill the Terrorgeist, and Pit of Shades, which took care of the Crypt Horrors. So, I mean, they were important spells and they helped win the game. So I was fine with that. And then I like Shades. They played their role very well. The Dark Shards are kind of okay. I'm gonna replace them with Dark Riders when I get more Dark Riders up and painted and all that. And then 2 units of 10 Warlocks, why not? They're pretty nasty with the 4-up saves, and Doombolt and Soulblight are really great. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much it. It was a good. This is my first game at above 1,500 points with Dark Elves, so it went well, and I was happy with that. So thanks for watching. You can check out my other videos if you want. They're Demons of Chaos versus. I got one for versus Legions of Chaos list. I got one versus Lizardmen, and another one versus Wood Elves. So if you want to check out some demons playlists, feel free. Thanks again for watching. See you later.